This episode is sponsored by Supreme of the UK. Click the link in the description and support the podcast. Quote CFR at the checkout and receive 10% discount on your order.
Saturday stream, people. We are live and direct. What's going on, people? We're in the building, man. Saturday stream. We've had a few weeks off. I think we've missed like 2 weeks. Noble's been on holiday and recharging and taking time out. So it was only right, man, have a little break and then bring it back. See what I'm saying? So Noble does send his apologies, as he will be late today for today's stream. And we're starting really early, man. It's like what? And I know most people don't even watch this live. They watch it after the fact, but the stream's really, really early today. It's actually what we 9:35 right now. But that was the only way that we could have did this today, because trying to start any later, there's a lot going on today, man, just personally. So start early, break certain things down, and that's it, man. And I didn't want no kind of rushing or nothing like that. So it is kind of warm. So I do apologize if you hear the fan noise and stuff like that. And we'll just take it away, man. So there's been a lot going on, people. There's been a lot going on. You know, on the Saturday stream, we talk about everything, man. We talk about everything across the board. There's no sort of no holds barred. So the biggest news, while we were away from the stream, was the Francis Ngannou news. So there was no way that we weren't going to talk about this, because previously, the last two streams, Francis Ngannou is something that we've spoken about a lot. Now, he's finally came out and announced what he's doing next, which is he's making a move to the PFL. So he's going to the PFL. They're saying that he signed a 7-figure deal, 2 million sign-on bonus. So he's got 2 million for signing on the dotted line. He won't fight until 2024. The people that he will fight, the guys that he will fight, they will get a guaranteed purse of 2 million a head. So this news came out, and everyone, the MMA world is very, very different from the boxing world, which we're going to talk about the boxing world later on in the stream. But the MMA world, the first thing I seen when this news came out, because I literally got the notification as the notification dropped, and I jumped onto the announcement, started looking in the comments, and as I started looking in the comments, I started seeing that they were majority of people in the comments were sort of saying, yo, I knew Francis was going to pull this off. Big up Francis, you held out, you got what it is that you needed to get. He was getting a lot of praise. Now, just before I give my thoughts, I'm going to say this, When it comes to ownership, I'm all about that. I'm all about ownership. I'm all about getting the correct compensation for your hard work. I'm all about using that window of opportunity to make future opportunities. I'm all about that. But Francis Ngannou, I said this, and I'm gonna come with examples here. Francis Ngannou said he wanted to box. So all of these contractual disagreements and all of these back and forth arguments on social media, meaning, people arguing on social media, and one crowd saying that Francis should be with the UFC, another crowd saying that he should go elsewhere and do A, B, or C. Francis said he wanted to box. Tyson Fury brought Francis into the boxing ring, and Francis said he wanted to box. So I don't know exactly what stream I said this on, but for the people who has watched the stream, you will know that I said if Francis doesn't box Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, or Deontay Wilder, then whatever move he made was a failure. Now, when it comes to MMA, yeah, I'm still new to the game, you know. When I say new to the game, as a hardcore, but it's very clear, yeah, that the UFC is the leading organization in MMA. There's no if, buts, or maybes about it. The UFC has the best marketing, the best packaging, the best personalities, the best social media. They've got all of that. The only other organization in the mixed martial arts world that is anything close to the UFC is one championship. That you hear Noble always talks about one championship. One championship is the closest thing to the UFC, but one championship is focused on the Asian market. So, with that being said, someone like Francis Ngannou is at the top of the sport. The heavyweight division, he is one of, if not the best in the world. So if you're the best in the world, you need to fight in the best organization in the world. Reason being, the most eyes are going to see you there, and the best competition is there. John Jones, that is the biggest fight to be made. Francis should not be looking anywhere else but fighting John Jones. Even if you fight John Jones and then move on. Now, people, what you have to understand is this move can look like it's a genius move, but, and I'm going to give examples, how many people are really going to like move over and watch the PFL? How many people are going to pay the pay-per-view to watch Francis fight on the PFL? Can they market Francis to make the type of purses that he wants? Because when he was in the UFC, his pay-per-views were not the biggest pay-per-views. They were not the most brought pay-per-views, which is why his deal took so long to come to an agreement. Because common sense, people, this is about common sense. The money has to be generated to pay the fighters. And unfortunately, we know that the fight game is about, making money. That's it. The fight game's about making money, nothing else. The fight game is not about who's the best fighter. I wish it was, but it's not about that. It's about who makes the most money based on who brings in the most eyes. But all right, just before we continue on, let me bring Noble in here. Yes, Noble.
Shalom.
Yes, Noble. What you saying, man?
What's happening, King? There.
People, you hear what's going on? Noble's in the building now, man. Noble's in the building. So Noble, let me just bring you up to speed to where we at so far. So
Okay.
we're going over the Francis Ngannou deal, and
Right.
I'm just breaking down if it was a big move. So
Okay.
I've got to the point where I'm saying the best organization is the UFC. The best fight, I'm not going to say the best fighters in that division, but the best fight is in the UFC. Will the fans move over to the PFL? So that's where I was at. So I'm not going to finish this thought, Noble, then I'm going to bring you straight in.
Yeah, man. Blessings,
So,
King, blessings.
Okay, so let's get back to where we was at, people. So Francis in the PFL. Now, on the surface, this looks like a power move. But as the time goes on, people, you will see that fans, not just combat sports fans, but fans in general, are very fickle. Now, fans, a lot of fans, and to the people that I kind of see online and when I look at, social media and things like that, the people who follow the UFC are more about the UFC than the fighters. I don't really see fans that follow, I'm following Hamzat Chimaev. No matter where he goes, I'm just following him. No, they're fans of the UFC and then fans of the fighters. Now, that is a terrible, terrible thing for the fighters. But unfortunately, when you have league competition and you have the kind of in-house competition that a company like the UFC have, that's what happens. So with that being said, my personal opinion, and we taking all the other things out of this opinion, we solely focused on fighting and the sport. For me, it was a bad move. It was the wrong move. Because, like I said previously, anything other than boxing, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder for excess of 10 million would have been a failure. When it comes to MMA, the only organization Francis should be fighting in is the UFC, because it has the most eyes on it, because it has the best fight, and because it's where the best competition is. So the best competitors need to be in the best competition. So if we look at the Premier League, this is how the UFC is. Take the Premier League, you have the Spanish League, you have the German League, you have the Italian League, which are all big leagues, all have a lot of fans and can all pay a lot of money. MMA isn't like that. You've got the UFC, then you've got PFL, One Championship, Bellator, and everybody else underneath that. But the gap is very big from the UFC to the next organization. So imagine if you put that in football terms. This is what it's like in football terms. The Premier League, and then like Division 2, and then everything else underneath, Sunday League. That's what it's like. So you have to understand that the best place to fight is in the UFC. Now, if Francis does not generate the money that we believe that, because I mean, he is a draw. He's definitely a draw, but he's not one of those draws that move fans around like that. He's not. Let's keep this thing real, people. Francis is not the kind of fighter that can have... He's not a Conor McGregor. And I say that in the most respectful way. And again, it's sad that I have to keep saying this, but I'm taking every other element out of it. And we just focused on sports and fighting. Francis is not Conor McGregor, so he can't generate that type of interest. And matter of fact, this is the last thing I'll say. If you take Conor McGregor in his prime and he can't re-sign to the UFC, and you put him in the PFL, he don't do nothing in the PFL neither. Just to show you how I'm looking at this, he don't do nothing either. It's the package of the UFC. The little Q&As after the fights, when Dana comes out and says, this gate made how much million, and the press are able to ask the president of the company. That WWE model is what keeps the fans engaged in that organization. And I believe Francis Ngannou has made a mistake. Noble, what you saying, man? What you saying?
You've laid a very extensive table there, sibling. Obviously, I didn't peep everything prior. Let's go in reverse, and I concur. But I will raise counters to some parts of your arguments.
Okay.
Best place to fight is in the UFC. Can you flesh that out a little bit more? What are you talking about exposure-wise? Are you talking about financially? Are you talking about the relationship with the fighter and the UFC as an independent contractor? Like, what do you mean by that,
Okay,
sibling?
I'm solely focused on the packaging that a fighter gets. If I'm a fighter, the packaging that the fighter gets by being branded in that UFC outfit, that's the best exposure an MMA fighter can get.
Yes. Being famous and having your face out there, being recognized as not necessarily a mixed martial artist, but yo, that's that UFC fighter. Yeah. I'm interested because he represents those three letters, which, as you've highlighted, WWF/WWE model has been. And if we look at what they did you break down how the WWF/WWE came to be in the prominence that they are today?
No.
Okay, so it's Dana White is a genius business-wise, and he has a lot of financial backers. I won't take that away from him. He saw Vince McMahon's father and Vince McMahon's products in the WWF. We're talking from 60s all the way up. 80s where they really started to make noise. So how they started to make noise, siblings, is they started to purchase the big regional promotions. So your AWAs, your NWAs, your Minnesota Wrestling, they were just swallowing up companies, promotions, along with their talent and absorbing them and bolstering their roster. So they came to a point where the WWF was the only game in town outside of WCW. They made crazy deals. They got the sponsorship. They had the merch game on lock. I got the trading cards. I still got the trading cards to this day. I got the VHS tape, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, you name it. They sold a idea of the good guy, the bad guy. They gave you merch along with it. They gave you storylines. They gave you heroes, villains, yeah? Dana has done exactly the same thing. He has taken that pro wrestling where people are getting injured, but he's scripted. He has saw the opportunity and rise in mixed martial arts, which initially was a lot more barbaric than it is now if you are not a connoisseur of the said sport. But he saw the opportunity, he saw the niche, and he said, you know what? It's going to take a lot of time still, but I think we can get this some places. So you think how much UFC was purchased off SCF Entertainment, I think SEG Entertainment, pennies in essence, to be sold for 4.2, huh? What are we talking about? They've been valued at 12 point something billion pounds, sibling. So you're 100% correct in regards to the exposure. Now let's peel the layers back a little some. So yeah, man, you're recognized. You will get paid potentially from the new Venom deal, and Dwayne The Rock's funny shoes that he's got slanging in red, and yeah, I'm not personally down with that. I think the Reebok stuff was a little bit better, but besides the point, they're caking it. Prime Drinks are now sponsoring corners. You look at that match; they've got sponsorships coming out their ass. They got an ESPN deal, so you know UFC are killing it. During the lockdown, they saved Endeavor in regards to their profit margins. They were the ones bringing in the money during the lockdown. To the point now, as you know, Endeavor now owns WWE side by side on ESPN. Yeah, ESPN's paying them a stupid amount of money to produce a certain amount of content. The UFC has clearly taken the model of WWF/WWE, added a little bit of quirks and turks, but as a fighter, you will be recognized. If you're Conor McGregor, you're going to be caking it. If you're certain top tier people, you're going to get some money. If you are a mid-tier card fighter or below, you'll get recompensed. And again, you can say, yeah, I'm fighting for the UFC, but you're not being recompensed in the same fashion as if you went to a Bellator, which doesn't have the eyes on it, which is, in my opinion, sort of third tier in the promotional list. You go to a PFL, and don't get it twisted, you're going to be treated, from all the fighters I speak to, you are treated very differently, even though you are still an independent contractor. Independent contractor, that means, well, what it should mean is that you should be able to go to work for a specific amount of money, and, you know, as long as you adhere to the policies, blah, 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 you know, you get paid. You know, but you can talk whatever you want, you can wear whatever you want, but that's not the case, because as an independent contractor of UFC, you've got to wear them stupid shoes from The Rock, you've got to wear the Venom gear, you've got to hold up the crazy monster can, you know, at the end of the song. You got to quickly, at the end of having a 15-minute or even a 25-minute grueling back and forth, broken disc, contusions here, you've got to quickly run over, put your Venom t-shirt on, because if you don't do that, you ain't going to get your sponsorship money. You got to get the damn monster can up, yeah? And then, siblings, you beg. Some of these fighters are literally getting on their hands and knees, making the sign of the cross. Dana, I need this 50 G's. I need the bonus. I'm homeless, or I've been sleeping in my car. I've got all these bills that everyone's talking about. Give me the please give me the bonus. So yeah, man, you can be well known, but unless you're Conor, and that is a perfect example, because there's no one higher than Conor. You got John Jones, and then we got everyone below. And there's Conor treatment. Conor can do everything he wants. He can be, you know, caught up in all kind of illegal activity. Nothing has been charged. He's had assaults, all kind of stuff. But yet he can come in. He can break his leg on Dustin Poirier. He can then remove himself from the USADA sibling and start taking all kind of steroids. You see how big Conor McGregor is now?
Yeah. It's piled on a lot of muscle. It's piled on, and I hear exactly where you're coming from. Let me take this mic up a piece. I hear exactly where you're coming from, and you know, I definitely understand the angle that the exposure's there, but outside. Well, I believe what you're saying is that the exposure's there, but outside of that, elsewhere you can get better treatment.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 1,000% facts. And
hey, Mark, one more thing. Let me just add to this in a micro build. When John Jones vacated his light heavyweight title and said, "Yo, I'm moved. There's no more competition here, man. I've been wrecking the game." And listen, John Jones, at one point, well, he's still an excellent fighter. He's just not as, you know, flashy as he once was. He fights very safe now, but he's the man. He's still the man outside of his crazy stuff, beating up his wife and all these kind of things and drugs. Forget all that. We're just talking about his fighting capabilities. Yeah. So he said, "Yo, I'm moving up to heavyweight." What do you think? What did you think the heavyweight lineal champ Francis Ngannou said? "Yo, let's do it then. Come up to my division and let's do this thing." You can go type into BoobTube now, Francis Ngannou interview, couple, 2.5, 3 years ago. "Yeah, man, John Jones, I'm waiting for this John Jones fight. I want to fight John Jones. I want to fight John Jones." You can see the Twitter exchanges, and then we can rewind a little bit before, and John Jones and Israel Adesanya were going back and forth. Like, "Yeah, man, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this." That didn't take place. So it took for Francis, for calling for this thing for 2+ years, and then going through all the things he's gone through, him leaving, John then saying, "Yeah, man, I'm ready to fight now still." "I'm ready to fight. My man's gone." Yeah. I'm gonna fight Cyril Gane, who went 5 rounds with him on a bad knee. Yeah, man, and I'm gonna deal with him in 30 seconds, and he did, and now he's calling back out Francis. So where was that energy then? Where was that energy there? And Dana White himself was saying, they said, yo, so we hear John Jones, and Francis Ngannou, and Dana White smirked, and he said, John Jones needs to stay in his own division. That's not going to be a good idea, him moving up. We fast forward, because don't forget, Dana White talks from the sides of his mouth, and plus he's a promoter, as he's supposed to do. And he's saying, yo, Francis is scared, brethren. No, let me rephrase that. No, he's not actually scared. He just wants lesser competition, Because, the John Jones fight, he was here. We offered him a truckload of money and all these something there. And Francis was like, yeah, well, I want to get paid, but I don't want the tough fights. So line me up the easy fights. I'll re-sign. This is the narrative that's being painted now all of a sudden. So, here's what it is, sibling.
Okay, so I hear that, and I have seen other people speak about the stuff that, John Jones weren't calling for him, and there's a lot of stuff that has gone on, and that has clearly gone on behind the scenes, and probably he feels as though he's been messed about. So if me now, how I'm speaking is solely based on fighting and his legacy, nothing else. Because that PFL deal sounds like all of that, sounds like, all this money, where. However, they have not got the outlet right now. I'm not saying they can't build the outlet, but a fighter like him, he hasn't got the time to build. He hasn't. Now it's just championship fight after championship fight. That's it. That's all he should be on. Now, he should just be focused on, when it comes down to business, I understand exactly what you're saying, Noble. Dana White, he plays games, he says things, he does things. However, this is business, man. This is business. And you have to, as a fighter, you'd have to understand that even if you hate my man with every fiber in your body, this is business, and the best business is at the UFC for your career, because I understand that the pay is not great. I get that. The pay may not be the best pay, but as a fighter, you have to have multiple revenue streams. It's like, I watched the Conor McGregor documentary on Netflix, the new one. And I know I keep talking about Conor McGregor, and people are probably going to be saying, why you keep talking about Conor McGregor? I use him as an example because if it wasn't for that guy, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. You would be Noble somewhere, but I wouldn't be in part of this because he had to be in MMA to commercialize it. Now, if you check out the most money he has made, it's not from fighting. The most money he has actually made to date is from his whiskey company.
Proper 12.
Now, what got eyes on his whiskey company? Him fighting. What got eyes on him fighting? Him being a character. Now, at the end of the day, no matter what anyone wants to say about that guy, he's a showman. When you catch glimpses of his real personality, he's a stand-up guy. I'm going to give you an example. He put the money up for the Katie Taylor in Dublin the other day. When Katie Taylor lost, I seen this man stand at the side of the ring and tell his fellow country woman, I love you to death. This man don't need to do, listen, he don't need to help anyone or step out of his box. He's loved in Dublin. And the reason he's loved in Dublin is because he loves Dublin. The reason he loves Dublin because he loves his people. He loves his countrymen. He's done a lot for that country and a lot for MMA in that country. Coaches, fighters, whatever. Now, my only point is, an African man can do the same. Francis Ngannou could be that African man. Now, I'm not saying you have to be an aggressive man who puts hate out into the world to sell fights. I'm not saying do that.
No.
But I'm saying get yourself to a point in branding where you're printing so much money outside of the sport that it don't even matter what happens in the octagon. Yeah. Now, you got to understand where I'm coming from. I was practically born into business. I was born into a place of, I'm going to tell you how real it was from when I was growing up. Me and my dad used to work on a market store, yeah? And we'd have to sell things before we could pay the rent. I'm coming from that place, so I'm saying when you bring yourself to a point of branding where you can literally sell a product and you will have the people queuing to buy that product, I'm saying Francis Ngannou staying in the UFC, having a few, even 2 more big fights, but branding himself as a Cameroon. Forget all that Le Predator and all that nonsense. Forget all the French stuff. Forget all the American stuff. Brand yourself as a Cameroon man. Yeah? Sell your fights. Sell your branding. He's a lovely man. Francis Ngannou. An absolutely lovely man. Like, to the point where you wouldn't even believe that he's a fighter if you didn't know he was a fighter. But that lovely man don't sell fights. What sells fights? You need a grudge match. You need that DC. Storyline. You need it. And I hate that WWF is what sells combat sports, but casual fans are what pay your bills. And all I'm saying is that what I see Conor do for Ireland, what you said it yourself, they're trying to do the same thing right now for the Mexicans. Yes. The Mexicans are building that Mexican thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What Messi is to Argentina, what Ronaldo is to Portugal, what McGregor is to Ireland. I'm saying he could be that.
Aldo to Brazil as well.
Jose Aldo to Brazil. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying, Noble. Just that PFL deal, we can jump on the stream 2 years from now and let's see where it's at. But I just think it was the wrong move. Like, you've got to be able to say, Bon Dana, you got to be able to say, I can't stand that guy, but you're doing business. You got to just focus on a product and brand that product. Brand that product to the point where, look, George Foreman.
The grills.
You know what I mean? George Foreman, Jordan, David Beckham, Conor McGregor, and I'm saying Francis Ngannou could be that guy. He could be that guy, but that PFL deal, if that money, if his first fight doesn't generate the money, that deal's a failure. What are you saying, Noble?
Well, let's look at it. We're talking business now. We're talking business. So the amount of money, like, it doesn't make sense. The return on investment, ROI. What does ROI mean? For some people, like, what the hell? I've heard it. What does that mean? So if you're going to make an investment of 20 million, right, you've got to see a timeline where you're going to get your 20 million back. So that's your return on your investment. And then trustfully, we're going to start to see profit outside of that. Outside of the financial profit, we're going to see other things. Oh, because we gave this dude 20 mil. Shit, look, PFL's proper up there. I know everyone's talking about it in the media and stuff. Well, how else is that going to translate outside of media headlines, etc., etc.? Are the numbers on their Instagram shooting up? Yeah.
No.
When they have their next event, is those numbers going to be shooting up? Because he's not even going to be fighting in mixed martial arts until 2024. He's talking about boxing first.
And the word is big. The word is, this is the rumor that it's going to be Jarrell Miller.
Oh my!
Like, so what the heck? Like, you're going to make less money than you'd make in your next MMA fight?
from a business standpoint, I just don't see it working currently. But what we've also got to appreciate, especially for the casuals, he's not going to be fighting in PFL per se. He's going to be fighting in the Super League, which Jake Paul is now is a member of as a few months ago. Remember that them headlines that he signed with PFL?
Yeah.
To create a super division, super league kind of thing, where it's big names and all that. So he's not going to be fighting Ante Delia, who's the current champion of PFL. And again with PFL, it's a seasonal thing. You got off season. It's like the American football kind of thing. Regular season and then whatever season, yeah. Off season and regular season. So you've got to fight and get points to then get into the regular season, to get into the playoffs, and then have a chance to win $1 million. That is very enticing, man. That's very enticing. You can also have 2 sponsors of your own choosing on your shorts. Yeah, so that's giving fighters more revenue outside of being paid. If you've got a name, which most of them will have a name, going into the PFL, most people, like if I said to you, Mark, who's in the PFL? Can you name anybody?
I can't name even one. However, you have to bear in mind, I'm casual.
No, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
this is the point.
Yeah, I can't name one. Besides Jake Paul, but I know Jake Paul's not an MMA fighter right now.
This is the thing. So they've got a talented roster of fighters, not huge names. I mean, they've had Anthony Pettis. They've just signed Shane Burgos, who actually unfortunately lost his first fight. Now, Shane Burgos did an interview and said, listen, this PFL deal shits all over the UFC deal I had. It was a no-brainer. Like, I fought in the UFC, and this is my thing now. Sticking on business and what's best for the fighters. Of course, most people in their head, I want to be in the UFC because that's the creme de la creme. Unless you've got people fighting in there, and you've had the experience, just like, what's that saying? Never meet your idols because it'll disappoint you.
That's correct.
You remember when we were supposed to do something with a certain person? Yeah? A little interview thing. And we went all the way down to this venue. Yeah?
Yes. I remember.
I'm not even going to speak the thing. Yeah?
I remember.
Right? So I remember I was telling you, like, it's apples and oranges. I'm thinking, I've got this persona, this idea of this person. And then when we meet this said person, it's a bunch of fuckery. It's like, huh? This don't align with how you project yourself. If people meet you, Mark, you're the same person who you are when we're doing the broadcast. If people meet me, it's the same. There's no persona. There's no outside of like, oh, Noble's real different to how he's on the broadcast.
It's not an act. It's not an act.
Acts. This is real, straight up.
Let's keep this thing 1,000. The only way that deal would make sense, is if they made the deal like with a fight announcement.
Exactly.
So it would have had to have been like, we've signed Francis and he's fighting in 8 weeks. Yo, sign up now. You could have probably teased, but if you look at the views on the announcement video, if you look at the views on the interviews surrounding the announcement, the views ain't exactly above average.
No.
Especially for something such a massive announcement, those views haven't done anything. So you have to think, if that's for free, that's what someone can click on and watch for free. What do you think is going to happen with the pay-per-view? Because you may as well take out 70% of the views on social media for when the some would even say take 90% out.
90, yeah.
Now, how much people are actually going to tune into the pay-per-view? This don't end well. Honestly, this wasn't the best. The only other way, you know what could have worked for him? And of course, I'm not a promoter. I'm not an MMA professional, none of that. So this is all just opinion.
Yes.
But for me being an outsider looking in, if it's about money, he should have went to one championship.
Yes.
If it's about money, Because even when they're talking about, yo, he's sitting on the board of the PFL Africa, there is no PFL Africa.
Thank you.
That's just something that they're saying. That's like us saying, no, but you can sit on the board of CFR New Zealand. Like, there is no CFR New Zealand. You see what I'm trying to say? So a man's gonna turn around and say, yeah, I'm on the board of directors for CFL New Zealand. Now, I mean CFR New Zealand, but you have to look at it like this. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book.
And
You may have heard about this before. Yeah, you would have probably heard about this before, but this was a practice that McDonald's used to do. So what they'd do, around the mid to early 90s, the early to mid 90s, McDonald noticed that the reputation that came along with working at McDonald's was a negative one. So they were struggling to maintain good staff members because people would hate the idea of working at McDonald's. So McDonald's came up with a plan. And what this plan was that if you had a member of staff who was a bit more enthusiastic than the other members of staff, and that member of staff's morale ever started to drop, what McDonald's would do is say to that member of staff, guess what? Today, you're not going to be cooking with the other members of staff. You're going to watch them cook. So you're going to look over them, make sure they're doing the burgers right, the fries right, the milkshakes. Yeah. You're just going to make sure they're doing their job right. Now, what would happen is that member of staff would say, yo, I'm almost like a manager. Yo, I'm watching over other mans, but from the top looking down, as a owner, as a franchise owner, you were paying them the same money.
Yeah.
They were exactly the same member of staff, but you had boosted their morale. Now,
hold up. Didn't they also give them a little star on their little name badge as well for doing that?
I'm not sure how they ran it with the in regards to the actual things surrounding it, but I know that the actual act of boosting the morale, that's what they did. Now what? Yeah. So what had happened after that was yo, my mic's just gone completely dead. No, but take over that for a second. Let me just fix this mic back.
Bless it. So let's talk about the French element in the Cameroon, and obviously non-speaking French countries, etc. I think it's important that he still maintains and grabs that Francais element because it's still a big market. He's clearly a Cameroon native, and he needs to rep that to the fullest, which he does. I mean, you look at his appearances.
All right, we're back.
Less when he was kind of in the mix, like in the major mix. Every press conference, he was coming in his African regalia, and that looked tight, man. That separated him from everybody else. He was showing, yo, I'm here and I'm representing my country. Kamaru Usman did it from time to time, Universe was calling Israel, Usman and Ngannou the three kings. It was proper, it was poetic, man. It was beautiful while it lasted. And unfortunately, I have been saying this, and I've said this on multiple broadcasts. He's not got the right team around him. He really hasn't got the right team around him to as you say, create the branding and make these decisions. Help him make these decisions and cut these deals.
Yeah, 100%. It's almost like I can see that he don't want to make a bad decision, but you can see that he wants to put himself in the best possible position, which nobody can fault him for that. I just think he should have approached it from a different angle. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying he could have approached it from an angle of, I'm going to brand myself, and then market myself and sell product. As a fighter, that's all you can do. You've got to break into product. You got to break into selling product. Making money from fighting is cool. But even like a John Jones, there is no sort of serious marketing that goes on there. I'm telling you, there's no long-lasting John Jones. Because even you check it, wasn't he with Nike at one point?
Nike, I was just about to say.
That's what I'm saying.
Sponsored by Nike. Yeah, man, that's a big. Him and Anderson Silva, I think, was the only ones that got sponsored by Nike. And after his, transgressions with, drugs and driving, etc., that went by the wayside.
And remember, all that's to come. This is what I'm saying. The market in Africa, I don't understand why it's not being utilized, because the same way how the PFL turned around and said, yeah, we're bringing PFL into Africa, it's a massive market and all that. So don't let people fool you. The same way how it's a massive market to watch MMA and build fighters, it's a massive market for product too. Exactly. Especially with the explosion of Afro beats and stuff. Literally, look at that song. Why you wanna do me like how does it go? Didier Drogba. I don't even remember how the song goes.
Yeah. I know you're talking about.
A man's got a song, a whole song, singing it. See, he mentions Drogba a few times in the song. Now, I'm saying to myself, imagine the fighter version of that. Who's that going to be? That I'm saying it can only be mans that are at the top end of the sport. So I'm talking about Israel Adesanya, Usman at the time, not anymore, but at the time, and Le Predator, and I hate that, but and him, and outside of that, you have to be at that level to be that guy, and that's all I'm saying. You can be that guy. But you're not going to be that guy from the PFL. You may make some money, because I heard them saying that he got a $2 million payout straight away. So you may make some money, but I think that's money you would have made anyway. Honestly, I think it's money you would have made anyway. You'd have made that money anyway. See what I mean? If you would have branded it right. But he's
as you said, Mark. Yeah, he should have went. And I'm pro one championship, but he should have took himself there. There shouldn't have been this long business. Okay, he had his back and forth with UFC. Okay, he's cut now. There was way too much of a gap between him being a free agent and then signing this PFL deal. Everyone, BKFC allegedly is supposed to have made, and that would have been a stupid idea. That I can't stand that stuff. It's entertaining to a point,
barbaric,
But anyway, crazy barbaric. But there should have been a very short window, 2-3 months at the very most. Then it should have been, I made my decision. I'm going with one championship. You know why I'm going there? Because there's competition, man. There's competition. They're breaking into the US market. I can do my mixed martial arts here. Couple of years back, they did a WBC boxing match there. So listen, I'm gonna be boxing in one first, then I'm gonna do mixed martial arts. And you know what I might even do? I might even do a kickboxing fight or a Muay Thai fight as well. I'm doing it all, boss. I'm doing it all. I'm getting straps in every one of those disciplines if I can, or if that's his desire. And then he can say after 3 years, after 4 years, you know what? I've done my thing here. Yo, Dana, what you say, man? See how many belts I got? Let me come back there and let me deal with this John Jones if he's still the belt.
It is don't know, but he hasn't got the time. No, but he hasn't got the time. He hasn't. Because they're saying that he's 36, but let's keep this thing 1,000. He ain't 36, Noble. He's about 38, 39 he is. He's about, and I hate to be that guy, man, but I'm too real. He's about 38, 39. Noble, he's got 2-3 years maximum left. Everything I'm saying, take it down, put the date down. He's got 2-3 years. Matter of fact, let me not put it in years. He's got 3 4 fights left in him. Big fights. I'm talking big 3, 4 big fights left in him, and he's done. He can't. He had what you're saying is true if he was 30 or 32.
But you know what? Let me just counter that slightly. In theory, you're exactly right. But he hasn't got that much miles on the clock, you know.
He's got that many bad knees, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got bad knees. That's what I'm saying. So the body, remember, the body is you know, there's certain things on the body you need. Once your knee goes, it's never right again. Once you lower back, things like that. And my man, he carries a lot of injuries. So, and remember, there's gonna be guys. Although we're talking like this and we're saying he's a killer and all this, he wasn't like that before. So you gotta remember, there's gonna be guys who are saying. So although we're talking like this, that he'd have to win every fight too. And there's no guarantee you could do that. Because remember, there's going to be a man who was saying, yo, I'll have him. I'll take a piece of him. Although he's got that one shot, you got to land it. And I watched Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis, and he didn't land that shot in that fight.
Hey. I'm glad
Come on.
you brought
I
this
told
up,
you, no, I've got the examples, man. We can do this all day.
glad.
Listen, he didn't strip me Outridge one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, let's skip that. Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou was, as everyone says, was the worst heavyweight fight of all time. They both were just gun shy. No one wanted to throw. It was stupid. The Stipe Miocic fight, he was just a young buck, man. He was a young buck. He was just in this thing. He was just trying to. The wrestling, he was just an incomplete fighter. He was a total incomplete fighter. That's why, and all he had at that point was the uppercut or something like that. Moving forward, he's a little bit more of a complete fighter because he can defend takedowns a lot better, and he can actually, you know, shoot a double leg himself. So he's improved dramatically from just being a guy with heavy hands, and if he just catches you that once, the dance is done.
100%. No, definitely. But again, he has to keep winning in that fashion to keep building himself as a pay-per-view draw. And like I said, to build his brand. So you can have all of those characteristics and you can sell a fight and all of that. But if you're not doing the business in the ring, you can easily end up like Paddy Pimblett. You see what I'm saying? So the branding and the fighting goes hand in hand. And I'd say this to any MMA man. Branding is just as important as your training and stuff like that. If you're trying to do this as a profession, if you're trying to make generational wealth, you have to look at what Conor did. And I'm not saying people need a reason to watch you. Noble, I hate to say this, man. It's I feel really terrible, but I'm too real that I can't hide. I can't hide the reality. And I struggle to watch a lot of them MMA, man, because I need that. I need a little bit of that WWE as well to keep me locked in. Them press conferences are so boring. I watched and don't get twisted, you know, any man who steps into an octagon deserves all the respect in the world. But I was watching Bilal Muhammad's his post press conference, and it was really, really boring. I couldn't watch it. You need some excitement, and that's why I'm saying branding is important.
Let me play righteous advocate as you know we always do on this here. It goes both ways though. If you've got if you've got idiots, let's just put it straight. You've got some nerds, and these nerds, some of them actually will roll in jiu-jitsu or some, but 90% of these people who are asking the questions are flipping nerds. They've got no personality. That's the stupidest questions to get the headlines, to get that the character out of the person. They just talk and waffle on a load of rubbish. That's why a lot of the fighters, unless they've got character themselves, that's why you don't see no character that does. I'm just gonna say whatever the hell I want. I got this opportunity. I'm here. Okay, unless they've got something about them, and they can hold, like, they can be captivating and all them kind of things. You're just gonna have these idiots. Yeah, Bilal Muhammad. Yeah, so you made pretty easy work of what you call it. So what's next? Do you want to fight Kobe Covington? It's like, wait, come on, man. Like, my youth's gone through Ramadan and all this business. Okay, let's ask a few of those questions. Let's ask some detail. Like, well, how on earth are you fasting with no damn water and shit? And then you're training, and now you're coming in and you're busting up my man who's, had a 3-week turnaround from his last fight, from retiring Jorge Masvidal.
And that's another thing.
Man. Like,
that's another thing. What you're saying is facts, 100%. You like. Realistically, at some point, that's what I'm saying. At some point, I feel like them press conferences, you need to be in there yourself. How do you get to that point?
About it.
You know what I mean? Because really, that's what. Because there's a million mans in there.
Yeah, I can get the credentials. Simply, the credentials is nothing. I can get the credentials all day, every day. It's just time, sibling. As we build offline, man, there ain't enough damn hours in the day, boss. And this is passion. Everybody listening to this here right now, me and Mark are not getting paid for this here, boss. No one's giving us a salary to do nothing. This is passion. This is a desire to disseminate and provide information, edutainment, and all the rest of the damn thing. I'd love to. Don't get it twisted, because you got these full send idiots.
Yeah, man. They're in with Dana. They are.
They're heavy with him, and they ask the most cringe, stupid questions. You're like, what? They're just handing out media passes to anybody. Oh, you got 450,000 YouTube subscribers. Ah, yeah, man. Come to the press conference, man. Yeah. Put it on your channel. Huh? Is that what it's about? Let's get some real content, man. Let's ask some real questions.
You know what it is? No, but I gotta jump in there, because you have to remember, MMA. Look at F1. If you clock F1, it's these mans who go to Singapore and Bahrain and Dubai and Silverstone and all these places all around the year. All these rich companies, cars, all these teams, and they have spectators and they have press. The press that are involved in F1 are solely involved, like they're into F1. You see what I'm saying? Everyone's got a piece of the market. Whereas in MMA, it's not yet there. So Dana's looking, I'm not saying Dana himself, but let's say whoever's letting the press people in, they're just looking at how much eyes can you get on the sport. We don't even care if you know about the sport. We just want you to get eyes on the sport. So that's why you've got man like, let's keep it real, guys who, I'm not going to say no names, but guys who don't even know the sport at press conferences asking stupid questions. Like that silly Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz press conference, and you had that guy. Like, it's just silly. It's just about clicks and views and viral moments. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I understand. I get it, man. I totally get it. But at the same time, like, you guys, clearly you might watch the occasional fight if there's like a big name on there. That's cool. We want to use your platform, okay? We got these couple clips. Just post them. Just put them on your social media. You know what I mean? We'll give you some front row tickets. However they do their thing, whether they're financially paying them fiat money or they're saying, yo, we're going to give you exclusive cage side access and all them thing there. What's wrong with that? Because as you say, the viral clips of them just saying the most daftest disrespect. I mean, one of his boys should have came as soon as he started talking that crazy shit. They should have came around and just tomped him in his damn face. Like, what are you doing, man? These are professional fighters up here, man. Professional fighters, man. And Nate, don't take none of this foolishness. And he handled it. Let me just salute him right here and now. Let me salute the way he handled it. Because a younger Nate would have threw a bottle at him or something.
Yeah.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible, and I get it. As I say, I get it. But we need to get to a place where we're having serious people in there asking difficult questions of Dana. Dana White, why are you allowing the UFC page to be flooded with some stupid power slap league stuff?
Yeah,
why are you flooding
That I don't know.
You know what I mean?
No, but that power slap thing, I don't know where they're going with that, because that is not a sport. That's not I seen a man get. I was watching a clip yesterday, and the man knocked him out.
Yeah.
Slapped him and knocked him out. And I was saying, how's it scored, or what is the purpose of that sport?
CTE.
That is crazy,
CTE,
man.
boss. This is bum fights, man. This is bum fights of the 90s, early thousands.
Yeah.
This is the degradation of society, but they're now putting it. They've created it and made it an alleged sport, and the Nevada Athletic Commission have sanctioned it and put all kind of stupid rules. You can't flinch, you can't fake slap, and all these stupid things. You gotta have your hand behind your back. You gotta do this, and it's disgusting. I mean, it's really it's heartbreaking to see people. You know, come on. Someone, you're on your ass, and you may have been slapping people like that before, and you think, yo, I can get 6K just slapping up a youth. Yeah. All right, yeah, okay. And then 6 years later, this dude doesn't even recognize his mum. 2 years later, his opponent is beating up people randomly in the street and getting arrested. Is Dana White in the power slap league and say, yeah, man, yo, we will pay for your bills, man. Listen, yo, it's CTE's got, man, because listen, for 4 years straight, or for 2 years, he was getting slapped up in his head every flipping, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing, man? How do you defend yourself against a slap if all you can do is stand there? That's not a combat sport.
Well, that's where we're heading now. We're heading into a place of, we're going to see a lot more things like that. We're going to see, because we're going to see loads of things like that. Let's put it like that. That's all I can say. You're going to see a lot more things like that don't make sense but get a lot of views, because it's all about what can be monetized now. What can be monetized, no matter how ridiculous it may be, what can be monetized, and the slap league is one of them things. But all right, let's move into this Spence versus Crawford fight. Let's get into this Spence versus Crawford fight, because this is one that is pulling the tug of war back on boxing side. This is a very evenly matched fight. Super fight. This is two welterweights that are in their prime. Both undefeated. Both highly respected. This fight is going to be big stuff. I'm just really glad they've got it over the line, and I think boxing is moving in the right direction. Now, I've said it from day one, big up Earl Spence all day, every day. That's a Jamaican. However, Crawford, man, I can't see him losing. I've said it. I think I've said it many times over the past few years. But Terence Crawford is pound for pound number one in the world. That, I've watched all his fights. I think I've watched maybe all his fights bar one or two. This is a very, very skillful, highly intelligent gym rat. Someone who has been dying for this fight. He's literally been dying for this fight. He's been pushing this fight more than anyone from the other side, publicly anyway. To the point where this man has literally put his career on hold to make this fight happen. This is a massive, massive, massive fight, but I can only see it going one way, and I see Crawford beating him in a 12-round decision.
Yeah,
They're going to have spots where they trade. They're going to have spots where they go life and death. But in the end, Crawford's hand will be raised. And if you're a betting man, you're listening to this right now, Crawford will win this. Trust me, Crawford will win this. But I'm just glad it's happening. And more boxers need to follow the Ryan Garcias and Tanks, the Devin Haney's and Lomachenko's, and now the Spence and Crawfords. More boxers need to follow. Follow suit. Simple.
Whoa. Am I reading this correct? 39-0.
That's Crawford.
Yeah, I didn't know he had that many fights.
Yep. Yeah.
He's getting up there with that pretty boy youths.
He was 50-0 when he.
Yeah,
he's 50. He won't get to that. But he's definitely. He's very inactive, but he's had a lot of fights. But this fight is that legacy fight. Like, this is the problem with boxing. There's too much guys in boxing who have got careers and haven't fought anyone. I seen a guy yesterday. There's a guy called Demetrius Andrade. My man's whole career is fighting nobody. And I'm not saying it's his fault. Some people haven't stepped up to fight him. But someone like Crawford needs this fight. Spence needs this fight. We have to know who is the best. We have to. Back in the day when you had Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler and all these mans, they fought each other. And there was a different outcome each time. Styles make fights.
Yes.
This is very much needed. This is the only fight I've wanted to see for years. The heavyweight division's a joke. This is the biggest fight in boxing. Has to happen.
Is Spence, is he, was he born in JA or?
No, not born in JA, second generation.
Okay. So he hasn't got the experience. 28 and 0 versus 39 and 0.
It's a difficult one, Noble, because Spence don't fight as often as Crawford fought. So you don't let the fights fool you. It's a lot more evenly matched. Spence is the naturally bigger guy. He's got I would say, in my opinion, he's got the better chin. He hits harder, but he hasn't got the same boxing brain as Crawford. Meaning Crawford's more like a puzzle solver. Spence can fight. You only have to look at his fight with Kell Brook. But Crawford will not make those mistakes. He won't. He knows when to do certain things. He knows when not to do certain things. So Crawford he has to. I mean, there's no favourite. You couldn't really say there's a public favourite. But for me, I think Crawford deals with this. Spence is a very, very good fighter, though. Nothing to be looked down upon. It's very, very evenly matched. But I just think Crawford edges it.
He's got an extensive amateur career, Spence.
Started quite late.
5 and 12.
Started quite late, yeah.
Is that typical 135 plus amateur fights?
Is that how much he had?
Yeah, it's 135 and 12.
Yeah, that's heavy. He must have been fighting regular. I know he started late, but he must have been fighting very, very regular. And he did go pro quite late too. Because I think he only went pro like 2013, you know. Probably later, probably like 2014, 2015.
Nah, 2012.
2012, okay. Yeah, he was around then because I remember he sparred Floyd and blacked his eye or something. So when that happened, his name was kind of bubbling. But he's a solid fighter, man. This is a massive fight. Big fight. They're both getting 10 mil guaranteed. And this is two guys as well who don't really...
What?
Yeah,
go on, sorry. Yeah. What was the negotiations like? Was it pretty smooth? Because obviously the Garcia and Tank, there was a whole heap of different things. It seems like Garcia was jumping through all these different hoops to make sure this fight took place. Was it the same kind of thing, or was it pretty a smooth transition to get this fight done and dusted?
Well, they have sorted it out themselves. It's been a very long, drawn out process because this fight has been being discussed for the past 2 to 3 years, man. Probably even 4 years. And
wow.
Yeah, man, this fight's been talked about for a long time. They've ended up coming together as the fighters and making it happen. So if it was down to the promoters, this wouldn't have happened. They've been on the phone together, doing the deal and getting it over the line. That's what I'm saying. Like, because that's what usually happens in boxing. One of the promoters are waiting to see flaws in the other fighter or waiting to see the fighter age. Once they see that fighter age, they make the fight. But I think they're both still in their prime, so it's still good.
It's nice to say that, you're a 39-0 fighter and all this, Floyd did his 50-0 and all that. But at the same time, you don't want to be in a position like that's in boxing or across the board. But in the sweet mixed martial arts, wins and losses is nothing ultimately. If you are an entertaining, exciting fighter, like Nate Diaz, for instance, as we spoke about earlier, look at his records. Look at Jorge Masvidal's record. I mean, in my opinion, I prefer Nate to Jorge, but they've got similar kind of records. They haven't got more wins than losses kind of thing, but everyone will tune in and watch. With boxing now, it seems like, nah, we got to protect this dude. We're going to give him a whole heap of cans. We're going to give him 20 cans, these journeymans, and him batter them around and stuff, get the KOs, and then we'll start to slowly, and I understand it, to a point, you've got to get the confidence, you've got to get their experience up. But boxing needs to be a lot more realistic in regards to making these fights. Once you get to 10-0, for instance, you're supposed to be fighting other people who are 10 and flipping 0, man. And then you can potentially keep your O, and then the other person's like, I'm flipping 10-1 now. I'm going to make sure the next 5 fights I'm winning this thing. Yeah, man, and then all the fans will be like, yo, these mans are boxing the people who they're supposed to be boxing when they're supposed to be boxing. They're not leaving it to the management and the promotions to say, yeah, my man's aged enough now still. Yeah, man, go boss him up. Go on and do your thing.
It won't happen.
Up on this.
It's MMA. This is why it's important to remember that MMA and boxing is 2 complete different sports. That's why all this talk of crossover fights and all this, it has to stop. Because it's 2 different sports. Boxing, there's a lot more investment that goes into fighters. There's a lot more development that goes into a fighter. In boxing, it can cost you a lot of money to build a fighter. So once you've got a 15-0, 20-0 fighter, as the promoter, that's an investment. If that fighter loses, that investment drops until that fighter gets back into the rankings again. When that fighter loses, depending on how he loses as well, he loses a lot of fans. For conversation's sake, someone like Anthony Joshua was built up of being a wrecking machine. Now, that's good if you're going to continue to be a wrecking machine. But the day you stop being a wrecking machine, the people that are buying pay-per-views and buying tickets to see a wrecking machine are no longer going to tune in. When you stop being a wrecking machine, the fighters that were scared of you are no longer scared. When you were a wrecking machine and you get stopped or you get knocked out, Now you're scared yourself because you now know, yo, that my chin can go. So you're kind of thinking about when you got knocked out. And a man like Anthony Joshua, when he's in the ring, you're thinking about all of the business as well. So you're thinking, damn, if I lose this, yo, all this business is down the drain. That's the difference. Whereas in MMA, some of these turnarounds are ridiculous. Let's keep it real. The turnarounds in MMA are ridiculous. Our Jermaine fight in August is ridiculous. That's ridiculous because your body, listen, there's no Terminators around here. There's no cyborgs around here. Every human is the same. Meaning that your body takes punishment. You're not superhuman. You keep going in and turning and cutting that kind of weight that fast. It takes a toll. Like I said, one of the biggest falls from grace I've seen so far in MMA was Tyron Woodley. I didn't know that Tyron Woodley as a killer. When the time I started watching, he was getting boss up and quitting and all sorts. And that's how fast it happens in MMA. That's how fast today you can be a killer. Tomorrow you're not.
You see, with Tyrone, though, that you raise a good point, but with Tyrone, it's a combination of his age, because he was up to, 38, 39, I think, before he called it a day in the UFC. But when he fought Kamaru Usman and lost the title to him, I don't know. Well, I know what happens, because prior to that, when he won the strap, Tyrone Woodley was on cloud cuckoo land. He was in his own world. He was recording rap stupid. Sorry, sibling. I'm really sorry to say this, and I told you this. Just concentrate on fighting, man. Wait until after to try and create some kind of rap career and do acting and all this. He was doing way too much, sibling, right? He comes in there and fights Kamaru. He must be thinking about smoking weed and Wiz Khalifa and whatever else, because from the bell rung, I don't know what kind of vibe he was on, because Kamaru just pressured him, took him down, bossed him up, That happened for the whole 5 rounds. After that point, he was broken. He was broken as a fighter. He didn't have that killer instinct. He wasn't charging at man and just bossing up man. His leg kick game is crazy. We never saw no damn leg kicks from my youth. He was mentally broken. Kamaru broke him. Sorry to say it. He broke my youth. It wasn't a case of he was going through all these wars. Tyron Woodley went through wars in Strikeforce. He didn't go through no wars in the UFC.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right in regards to the turnaround, the punishment. Aljamain, reigning, defending bantamweight champion, just fought a gold medalist wrestler, Henry Cejudo, who was a 2-division champion within the UFC, and then retired after beating one of the longest reigning bantamweight champions in Dominic Cruz. He came back and fought him and won, sibling, a tough 5-round fight. And then immediately they push out this stupid hippie, weed smoking, Tekashi 6ix9ine kind of brother, saying, we're going to do this, man. Yeah, man, O'Malley. And, again, his personality. He's caking. He's doing his thing.
It's Brandon.
Yes. You better make weight, boss. You better get back on. You gotta cut weight. So they've clearly spoken to Sean O'Malley and said, "Yo, listen, we're gonna turn him around quick, boss, because we don't want Aljo as the champ no more. He's cool. He's a he's an unorthodox wrestler, striker. He's gonna backpack you. He's known as the human backpack. That ain't exciting. He's not necessarily moving a needle. We want you as the champ, O'Malley, yeah? So we're going to turn him around hella quick. We're going to give you the day. We're going to tell Aljo nothing. He's going to find out in the ring. And then you get all this business of the president, Dana White, disrespecting his champion. Aljo can't stay at his own way, man. I'm at home. Hunter, who lives right next door to me in our little private gated community, comes over to my house and says, yo, Henry Cejudo wants to fight, in August, because Aljo's not want, he doesn't want to fight, and he's just taking the piss and this and that. And Aljo's like, listen, I've ballooned up to almost 180 pounds, man, of a lot of it being water. Like, I did a 5-round fight. I said, yo, verbally I accepted, but I said, yo, I ain't turning around for August. Give me till at least September. Yo, aren't I the champ? Hey, hold up, wait a minute. Haven't I got the UFC belt? And I'm the champion of this division. I don't have no say. So what? I'm a slave now, am I? I've got to just jump, and whenever you say jump, I've got to go into this thing in my underwear and fight someone. Whenever you say so, huh? Barley don't make no sense. Listen, Conor McGregor.
No, but hold it down, right? I need to run toilet, man.
Yeah.
I would be like 2 minutes.
Yeah, man, blessed. Conor McGregor, excellent, charismatic character, controversial, all the rest of it, right? They manicured his whole fighting career up until of late, and they're still manicuring it to a point. They gave him fights which he could with Dennis Seaver, Marcus Brimish. They gave him fighters to show his skills. Chad Mendes was one of the toughest fights he had to get the interim strap. They took him and Jose Aldo on a world tour. Jose Aldo speaks Portuguese. He does not speak English. It's a bad move, and I always suggest any foreign fighter, you got to learn some form of English if you're in an American promotion. But that's by the by. They sent him all over the damn world, mainly English-speaking countries, and he's got a translator there. And Conor was taking the piss. They were being vile to the team. They were saying all kind of disrespectful things, scar on his face, and he's going to kill and conquer the Brazil again, like the conquistador, all kind of this horrible stuff. So mentally, he was in a totally different place. That's why we get the highlight knockout of Jose Aldo. They then say, yo, listen, double champ thing was, let's go give you Eddie Alvarez. And I will say that was one of the best striking displays from Conor McGregor. If you go watch that end sequence, go up onto your YouTube now. I'm just putting Conor and Eddie and watch them. I think it was a 4-5 punch combo. It was beautiful. I did not expect Eddie to get done down like that. But we got Conor as the double champ now. Didn't defend the belts once. Held up the whole division, did all this kind of stuff and this and that, because they saw the trajectory, they saw the cash cow, and said, yeah, we're going to do it. You can do whatever you want, Conor. Yo, this is Conor world. He was talking about, I'm going to be on the boards. I want a seat at the table and all this business. Obviously, that hasn't necessarily materialized, but he's doing his thing, and they enabled and allowed him to do whatever he wants. But we've got another champion in a lower division who is highly melanated and represents America and Jamaica. And it seems he seems to have some issues with the president. The president's like not glowing, like, yeah, man, Aljo, there's no one beating this guy. He's the best. He's the champ. He's disrespecting him here. He's saying this. He wants him to turn him around quickly. He's not even saying, yo, listen, we need you on this card still. So I know, Aljo, it's a quick thing. It's going to be a quick turnaround.
I'm back.
We're going to pay him some more money. We're going to say, listen, Aljo, we're sorry, man. We know we should give you a longer time. You did say September, but we want to do it in August. Like, we're going to give you an extra 10 points on the pay-per-view, for instance, which trustfully would translate to quite a bit of money. Or we're going to up your guarantee, not your show and win money. We're going to pay you $750,000 flat, plus your pay-per-view, plus your Monsters Energy damn sponsorship, and I forgot the Venom song, we'll give you that. So that's going to be another maybe $50K from the sponsorship thing. And then Aljo can say, all right, then as the champion, financially, okay, I'll see. It's going to be tough, but, let's do it. Or he'll say, no, listen, I can't, man. I can't. If you want me to keep on being the champion, Like, I need my body to heal. I've been through a fight. Remember? Don't you remember you videotaped it and aired it and made people buy it? That was me there. See all those bumps, and that was me. I got kneed in the head, and he punched me in my stomach all heap of times, and all this. I got leg kicks. Look at my leg, and look, I've blown up. I fight at 135. I now weigh close to 180 pounds. Siblings, it's mind blowing what these athletes are putting themselves through physically.
100%. 100%. And if you look, he put up a thing, where he showed what he's looking like now, like a couple of days after the fight. That's crazy. Imagine that kind of what you put in your body through. So this is what I'm saying. It's deep, man. It's deep what's going on. That's why they definitely have to be compensated. But you have to just know how to make the most money while you're doing this, man. You have to just know how to make the most money. 100%, because they don't want him to have that belt, No. They don't want him to have that belt, and that's why I think the quick, like you explained earlier, the quick turnaround, I think it's because they want that belt gone.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. Now, I don't like to do this, but we have to talk about the elephant in the room, right? This current situation with Aljamain Sterling. We mentioned Tyrone Woodley, who was the former welterweight champion. He had nothing but issues. They fed him and brought him all the way to Liverpool to lose to Darren Till.
Yeah, he was meant to lose that.
And he said, no. Hold this beer. I'll be back in a minute. And choked my out. Yeah? Oh, God. The great white hope's gone. It just seems, it doesn't seem, it is a clear message to everybody. Like, you better stay in line. I don't want to hear nothing, because if not, I'm just going to put you a killer in there, man. I've got someone who's very marketable. He's the face of UK MMA at the moment, who, Darren Till's no longer in the UFC. He's
chasing fights with Carl Froch and all sorts.
Yeah.
Which he'd get Tom Pop and Tom Pop in that.
Exactly. I mean, he's a nice guy, man. He's funny. But as a fighter, when he first came in, he showed some brilliance, and he did show some brilliance and stuff. But the weight cut is killing him now. He's getting older and stuff. He's done as a fighter, man. No disrespect, Darren. You're done as a fighter out here, man. Keep those nice 1,000-pound, multiple 1,000 pounds of teeth just safe in your mouth, and just parlay your thing, boss.
Yeah. No, he's done. That's the thing about when it comes to combat sports, you have to kind of boxing. There's more longevity, of course, depending on your style of fighting, but in MMA, that day does come, and it does. Unless you're an absolute top of the sport, that day can come sooner rather than later. Because when you look at Darren Till, he's taken some very serious punishment. And they've gave him the alley hoop, or however you say that. They gave him that multiple times. Because like we said, he was supposed to lose to Darren Till. I mean, he was supposed to beat Tyrone Woodley. He was supposed to beat Jorge Masvidal. They've gave him bare opportunities, but he just couldn't get it over the line. And in the end, I think he jumped out because he knew, if I don't jump, I'm going to get pushed. Let me jump before I get pushed, because he couldn't take too much more L's and stay in the organization. So he's jumped out. And even when you think about it, where does he go? Boxing, forget about it. Carl Froch ain't boxing again. He's had a nose job. When you have a nose job, you're not boxing. You're not boxing. He's had a cosmetic nose job.
Right.
So you're not boxing with that again. Darren Till, where do you go? Okay, you might fight on a lesser promotion, but where do you go? The mileage the mileage is up there already, and he would have been that person hasn't come yet, but he would have been that person. If he would have won the belt, he would have been almost like, I'm not going to say David Beckham levels, but in MMA, in UK MMA, he'd have been something real big.
He'd be as big as Michael Bisping is. Because he's really, I mean, outside of Rocky, he's still, you know, for most people, the face of UK MMA.
Bisping.
The first UFC, the first UFC champion from the UK. Even though, we got to put some clarity on it, he left and moved to America, and that's when he was training with Perello, you know, Jason Perello, and he won his title at that stage of his career. Unlike Rocky, who has remained solely in the UK at Renegade UTC. He went. I think, did he go to ATT or AKA? He did do a trip over there, but not for no long extended period. And it's good to travel around. It's good to go to other gyms. It's good to get new looks, you know. But we can say we've got a UK current champion who's still there.
Facts.